This is episode 2 of Calibishie Chronicle. Following the first episode, the feedback was tremendous and people seemed quite interested in hearing the stories. So we continue telling the intimate stories of Calibishie. Well, not intimate to the sense where it has to do with relationships. Well, yes, it's all about relationships and involvements and contact. So yes, let's say intimate. The intimate stories or narratives of Calibishie from my perspective. And my perspective is the experiences that I have had living and growing up in Calibishie and hearing from the people who lived and grew up in Calibishie. So it goes way back, past a century, because we have information about Calibishie and there are things that I've observed and known about Calibishie which goes back hundreds of years, goes back to slavery for that matter. So expect some really deep and interesting story told in lightish manner, because this Calibishie Chronicle is not meant to be an intellectual pursuit of sorts. It's just the good old casual storytelling days. Hopefully someone will find it being useful in terms of social engagement and continue following. So on the second episode, I would like to deal a bit with my days as a boy and the experiences that I had in the village and certain landmarks that I remember vividly. Now, I do not go to people to get information to come to speak. When I appear on this program, I speak based on my memory, based on what I think, based on what I remember. So nobody guides the content of this program. Not even my mom or sister. They would like to, maybe, but nah, I'm not going to let them. It's going to come from me. What I remember, what I cannot remember, people will help me. So let's try to connect the dots in terms of the Calibishie that we know. And this program is particularly geared at the younger generation of Calibishie people. Those beautiful young people who I see, dancing, celebrating, doing wonderful creative things for Calibishie. I mean, there's a wonderful young Calibishie council right now with a number of young people involved on the council. We will get into that too, because I served on the Calibishie Village Council at a young age too. Very young age. Very, very young age. So I'm seeing me in a lot of the people from Calibishie, the children, the youth. So I know that the future is bright for our Calibishie people. And they have now more than I did have then. So it's going to be good. But it's important that we connect the dots. So Cyapen, Didin, Geraldine had a school downstairs of our house. Cyapen right across from Kit. Well, should I say Kit? Some people may not remember Kit. So those of you who do not remember Kit, try and remember Kit. Well, let's just say Jean. So the shop that Jean has now was Kit's shop. And right across from Kit's shop is Cyapen's building. Cyapen was a teacher. I think she was a head teacher at one point in time. We used to call her Didin. So there was a school downstairs of her house. And that's where I started going to school. Well, my first school was the Teacher Lucy preschool. So I went to preschool at Woodford Hill. Because when I was born in Calibishie, my mom, who was 20 at the time, young lady, moved back to live in Woodford Hill. She already had a daughter and a son, my brother and sister. My brother Chuck would have left and my sister is still here. Long story short, I was moved back to Woodford Hill with my mother, went to preschool at Teacher Lucy's preschool. I remember my first day at preschool. I will give you the story some other time. But at one point in time, my grandmother moved me back to Calibishie and said that I belong with her. I was born with her, that I picked me. So during my primary school days, I spent that in Calibishie. And I went to school at Didin school downstairs. Somehow I do not know whether it was a part of this, the for smaller children, but that's where I went to school. And I was a register boy. That means I used to take the register from Didin school, Cyapen school, to the big school at Calibishie, down at the Savannah. At that time, it was a wooden school. And there were coconut trees around and very interesting. So the school was facing the road, the main road. So if you walked from the main road in Livedo up towards the Savannah, you would walk right into the school. That new structure was not there at all. So my job as a boy was to walk the register of attendance down to the big school and back up to Cyapen school. Every day I would do this, and I would walk down the streets with my little register. I think it was a green or blue register at the time. And I was so proud to do this because I was the trusted, talkative boy. And Cyapen had some confidence in me because I have the register. Anybody could change their attendance on the register. So I took that as a responsibility of mine. And I would see people like Shasha, Bibi No, Coco Fe, Prezi, Lawaman, Dan, all these guys would be on the streets, saying, hey, what's going on? And you tease me as I'm going on with my little register, call me the register boy, And so that was a very, 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 very proud moment for me. People like Mewo and Tonya. I mean, who is Tonya? People find out who is Tonya. Well, I probably should tell you. But I'm telling you, I'm talking about the time in Calibishie where Calibishie was the community that I knew it was. Now, it might still be that community, but we should tell the stories of the time when the community brought me up as a child. So that interesting story to me, I hope it is interesting to you in terms of the structure of education at the time, where Madidin had a school downstairs her place, and then there was this big school where everybody wanted to go to that big school. We'll talk about the big school days and the cinema that used to take place at the big school. Matinee, actually. Because children used to go to matinee and big people would go to the cinema. I would go to the matinee. And I would tell you the first movie that I saw as a kid at the matinee, which was held at the Calibishie Big School. This and more coming up on the next episode of Calibishie Chronicle.